Have you ever stood in the middle of a major city at 3 in the morning? The streets are empty, the neon lights are humming, and the only things moving are the street sweepers and the garbage trucks. They are quietly washing away the chaos of the day, preparing the metropolis for tomorrow.
It is a perfect metaphor, really. Because right now, inside the head of every person listening to this, a nearly identical process is waiting for the sun to go down.
It is fascinating to think about. Every single thought we have, every memory we form, every stressful email we read, it all leaves a physical trace. A biological residue. We celebrate the human brain as this ultimate supercomputer, but we rarely talk about the exhaust it produces.
And that exhaust is significant. The brain is arguably the most demanding organ in the human body. It accounts for maybe 2% of our total body weight, yet it hogs roughly 20% of our oxygen and metabolic resources. When you run an engine at that kind of red line all day, it generates a massive amount of metabolic debris.
So, the act of thinking literally creates biological wear and tear.
Exactly. Neurons are constantly firing, and that intense metabolic activity spits out protein byproducts, oxidative waste, and damaged cellular components. For decades, the great mystery in neuroscience was, where does all this trash go? The rest of the body has the lymphatic system to clear out the junk, but the brain is locked inside the skull, behind the blood-brain barrier. It seemed like a closed loop.
Which sounds like a recipe for a biological disaster. If a city stops collecting its garbage, it only takes a few weeks before it becomes entirely uninhabitable.
Precisely. And in the brain, if that debris isn't cleared out, it builds up. And that buildup is now strongly linked to cognitive decline, premature brain aging, and severe neurodegenerative diseases.
But the brain isn't a closed loop, is it? We finally found the garbage trucks.
We did. It is one of the most remarkable discoveries in modern neuroscience. Researchers uncovered a hidden, fluid-clearing network buried deep inside the brain. They call it the glymphatic system.
The glymphatic system. It sounds like a secret underground river.
That is not far off. It acts very much like the body's lymphatic system, but it relies on specialized glial cells in the brain. Essentially, it allows cerebrospinal fluid to pump through microscopic channels surrounding our neural tissue. It washes over the neurons, picks up the metabolic waste, the toxins, and the abnormal proteins, and flushes them out.
It is literally pressure washing the neural architecture from the inside.
Yes. And it is doing it with incredible precision. But here is the catch, and this is where the science gets truly fascinating. This pressure washing system doesn't run all the time. It is almost entirely dormant while we are awake.
Wait, so while I am actively using my brain, generating all this waste, the cleaning system is turned off?
For the most part, yes. The brain has to choose between two states, being awake and aware, or being asleep and cleaning. It cannot do both efficiently at the same time.
That fundamentally changes how we need to look at sleep. We usually treat sleep like a passive state, like turning off a computer monitor to save power. But you are saying it is an active, aggressive maintenance cycle.
It is biological survival. During deep sleep, something incredible happens physically inside your head. The actual spaces between certain brain cells expand. The cells shrink down, increasing the interstitial space by up to 60%.
That is wild. The brain physically alters its own structure to let the fluid rush in.
Exactly. It opens the floodgates. The cerebrospinal fluid rushes in, circulates through those expanded spaces, and sweeps away the day's toxic buildup. If you do not get that deep restorative sleep, those spaces do not expand. The fluid does not flow. The trash does not get taken out.
Which brings us to the dark side of this equation. If someone is chronically sleep deprived, which feels like half the modern world right now, they aren't just tired, they are actively blocking their brain's sanitation department.
And the consequences of that are sobering. Let's look at two specific proteins, amyloid beta and tau.
The usual suspects in Alzheimer's research.
Right. When these proteins misfold and accumulate, they form plaques and tangles that essentially choke the neurons to death. Now, neurodegeneration is incredibly complex. It is a puzzle with many pieces. But we now know that the glymphatic system is responsible for clearing out a significant portion of these exact proteins.
So, if we chronically cut our sleep short, we are literally allowing the architects of cognitive decay to set up camp in our minds.
Over years and decades, yes. It is a slow accumulation. One night of bad sleep won't destroy your brain, but a decade of restricted, fragmented sleep, that is a massive risk factor. We are denying the brain the very mechanism it evolved to protect itself with.
It feels like modern civilization is almost perfectly designed to sabotage this exact system. We are bathed in artificial blue light until midnight. Our stress hormones are constantly elevated. We drink alcohol to wind down, and our circadian rhythms are completely shattered.
It is a biological mismatch. Our brains evolved under dark nights, predictable routines, and absolute stillness. Today, we are chronically overstimulated. We push our nervous systems to the absolute limit, and then we wonder why we wake up feeling foggy, or why cognitive decline is becoming such a massive societal crisis.
We are running the sports car engine at top speed, but we are never pulling over to change the oil.
Exactly. And it is interesting you mentioned the rest of the body earlier, because the brain's glymphatic system conceptually mirrors the body's lymphatic system, but their triggers are completely opposite.
How so?
The body's lymphatic system, which manages fluid balance and immune function, doesn't have a pump like the heart. It relies entirely on physical movement. Muscle contractions, deep breathing, walking. If you are physically stagnant, your lymphatic circulation stagnates.
So, the body requires movement to clean itself, but the brain requires absolute stillness.
Perfect contrast, isn't it? The body demands action for recovery, and the brain demands unconsciousness. Both systems absolutely abhor modern, sedentary, sleep-deprived lifestyles.
That is profound. It makes you realize that health optimization isn't just about taking the right supplements or buying the newest gadget. It is about respecting these ancient hardwired biological rhythms.
And that is exactly where the frontier of neuroscience is heading. We are moving beyond just telling people to get 8 hours of sleep. The future is about optimizing the architecture of that sleep. Researchers are looking deeply into how we can enhance glymphatic flow and protect cognitive resilience.
How do we even measure that in daily life? We can't put everyone inside a brain scanner every night.
We can't, but wearable technology is getting incredibly sophisticated. We are starting to track heart rate variability, respiratory patterns, temperature fluctuations, and precise sleep staging. Eventually, we will use these metrics not just as data points, but as a proxy to understand how well our nervous system is balancing itself and, by extension, how effectively our brain is clearing its own waste. It is about turning data into actionable biological interpretation.
Because protecting the brain's maintenance system is the ultimate key to cognitive longevity. It is not just about living to be 100 years old. It is about retaining the capacity to recognize your family when you get there.
Exactly. Lifespan means very little without health span, and health span means absolutely nothing without brain span.
There is something incredibly humbling about all of this. When you strip away the complex biology, the cerebrospinal fluid dynamics, and the medical terminology, you are left with a deeply philosophical truth.
Which is?
The only way the human brain can maintain its brilliance, its creativity, and its intelligence is if it willingly surrenders its consciousness every single night.
That is beautifully said. We often view sleep as a vulnerability, an evolutionary mistake that leaves us defenseless in the dark. But it is not a weakness at all. It is the ultimate act of neurological survival.
We have to step into the dark to protect the light.
We need the stillness. We need the disconnect. It is the only way to preserve the extraordinary machinery that allows us to think, to remember, to love, and to remain who we are.
So tonight, when the lights go out and the world goes quiet, remember what is happening inside your head. The night shift is clocking in, the silent rivers are opening up, and your brain is washing away the past to protect your future.